Hey everyone, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. Today, again from moviesandshakers.com, Al and Linda Lerner. We all went to the Heads Come Over. I don't know how I said that, whatever. I'll redo that. It's a recording, so I can fix it.
Of course.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. I have Al and Linda on from moviesandshakers.com to talk about the Chicago Critics Film Festival. And people are probably wondering, like, what is the Chicago Critics Film Festival? And I guess the best way I can put it is like it's an event where critics find movies from other festivals, such as like Sundance or South by
Yeah.
Southwest, etc. You'd probably know better than me, but they would kind of say, "Hey, we really like these. We want to put them in Chicago so people could see it." And it's at this old incredible venue. I mean, the Music Box has been around for how many years now?
Oh, since the 20s.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
That-
That would be the 1920s.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right. That's right, because we're in 2020 now, and sometimes I forget.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about the Chicago Film Critics Festival that I didn't know until the last night when they mentioned it is that this is the only festival in the country that is actually organized by critics.
Yeah.
Critics most of the time just go to movies to complain about them, and here is an organization that actually said, "Here are movies we like, and we'd like to share them with you," which is unique for critics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of the beautiful thing about it. It's like I have that and Ebert Fest. I haven't been to like the ones where everyone's like, "Oh, it's not like this festival, not like that festival," which I could imagine if you go to like Cannes or something like that. Everyone's kind of like, "I'm on this team and I'm on this team," And here it's more like everyone's very welcoming and it's a community feel. We're just enjoying the art of film instead of sort of, bashing it, saying, "Oh, I didn't like this and I didn't like that." And it's great to have people go, "Hey, who's that director? What's that movie?" And it's a great way to kind of bring word of mouth and introduce folks to like new types of films instead of just seeing the same thing again and again. So if I go down the list here, I'm gonna go through some of the movies we saw. Cha Cha Real Smooth.
Good one to start with.
Yeah.
That was the very first one they showed, and I think I'm gonna be the bad guy here. I called it in my review Cha Cha Real Snooze. And here's the thing: it's not particularly a bad film. It's not my kind of brand of humor where everything kind of feels a little fictitious and they're winking at the camera. Cooper Raiff, sort of the guy who stars in it, writes in it, acts in it, directs in it. It sort of feels like a movie he made in the same sort of sense of like King Richard, where it's like a nostalgia piece, where it's like, "Hey, look at how much of a great guy I am," and oh boy. And I know that's really burning it down and making it simplistic. I understand that it's a film about depression and about maturity and how things don't really go the way we want to and how we have to let go of the ones that we love in order for the greater good to grow as a person, and that it has a non-confrontational style that's actually very heartwarming and welcoming, and that's all great, but I just didn't vibe with it. And it's honestly a personal thing where everyone's probably going to disagree with me on that. And that's totally fine. That's why we all have different opinions on movies. If we share the same opinion, it would be good. But I'm guessing you guys like it.
No, let's break it down because
Let's
we
down
do
your
disagree
criticism.
with you completely.
Yeah.
So we have a young guy who doesn't really know who he is and is searching for his place, to find his place in the world, and the places he's finding for himself in the world, very much like young people today, is nothing that they want.
Mhm.
Working at meat sticks and having an education that is absolutely getting him nowhere is really depressing.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is that if you followed that movie, is that his childhood wasn't all of that idyllic, as well as that he had to take care of his mother, who by the way, did a great job. The actress
Leslie Mann.
Yes,
Leslie Mann
yes.
did a great job.
Judd
But
Apatow's wife, right?
he was forced as a young kid to grow up fast because his mother suffered from depression.
Yep.
And he had to actually step up and take care of a single mom, which all goes into the background of how is this kid going to find his way in the world.
But it's more than that, because what was interesting is we saw it twice without an audience. We saw it this last time with an audience, and it was a much different experience because the laughs were there, the jokes were there, the gags were there, and the fun was there, as well as a lot of heartfelt feelings for finding your soulmate, but not being at the right place at the right time.
Now, you think the comedy was a little cheeky, that it was just too precious, that he was like, you called it winking at the camera. And you know what? That's, comedy, writing comedy is tougher than you think. And, trying to get the lines and the timing and directing that all is a challenge. And maybe in the hands of another director, you would have liked this movie a little better. Maybe the fact that he's a young guy this is his second film. His first film was called Shithouse.
Yeah.
He probably would have liked better.
With the C, SCHI, and then I think 2 T's. Yeah.
not those shits. But anyway,
but it was like a shed, I'm guessing, or something. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm actually curious about it because I hear it's a good movie and it has a vulgar title, but I'm guessing
and he played all the roles in that movie.
He did. He says his next movie he's not going to be starring in.
Oh, well, that's nice.
But he also had another aspect in that film. Dakota Johnson was very good in that film, and it did a great job being the mother of an autistic young woman who was a terrific actress. And
who's actually autistic? I read in real life.
Exactly, Vanessa Burkhart, and she auditioned. She is an actress. She's definitely an actress. She says, I don't want to be the poster child for autism. I am an actress.
So here's a little peek behind the curtain about this film is that we talked to Cooper Raiff, and he shared with us that when he wrote this script, the kid was not autistic. She had something completely different going on with her until he saw this kid's audition tape. And then he said, she's in the movie, we're changing the movie. And he wouldn't hear, he got a lot of pushback on that, and he wouldn't hear any of that. And he said, this is the movie I'm going to make with this kid. Now, autism is the issue for her.
And he said that he had to keep up with her, which was very interesting.
Yeah. I kind of know a little bit what that's like.
Lola is a good character.
She is. I'm just wondering if how much research he did with autism when he did the movie, because like a lot of the scenes with Lola, they were cute, but then she kind of felt like they were using her handicap sort of like as a punchline in a way. It's like, oh, she says something that's a bit awkward, and Andrew, the name of the character he was playing, had to be very polite and adjust to it. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. But then it like kind of repeated itself again and again, sort of like how Men repeats his point again and again.
Did he see this autistic kid as a reflection of himself?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So, you're going to have to cut him some slack. You're going to have to cut his character some slack on that one.
Right.
I'm not trying to change your mind on this.
No. And honestly, I'm always up for a second watch because I get, if I just see something once, like Stanley Kubrick said, you've never really seen a movie unless you've seen it once. I mean, I don't know if you can argue that for everything. I don't know if you can argue that for like, Norbit or something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting way they made this movie as well, and Linda found this out, is that this was shot during COVID, and to keep everyone safe and to find a location where they could have all of these different party locations and office and home and all of that, they took over an abandoned shopping mall outside of Pittsburgh or in Pittsburgh to shoot this. So they had all of these built-in different locations all under the same roof.
And they would just have, the kids would be at all the same parties because they were all friends and they were all students in the same school or whatever it was, but they just have them change clothes and have a different setting and make sure that, you know, certain people they were shot differently so that it looked like a new party.
I have a question for you, Mike. You ever been to a bar mitzvah?
No.
Okay, well then the movie's lost on you.
It probably is. Again, I think because I know I was watching this and I'm going, okay, everybody's loving this, and I feel like I feel like Scarface, you know, walking out of the restaurant saying "Say goodnight to the bad guy," you know. But I was just thinking also at the same time, like, you know, I think the thing that sort of threw me off is like when Cooper Raiff was like on stage to talk about the movie afterwards. I'm like, okay, I'd like to hear him articulate the film, and he was just like drunk and not making any sense. And then I'm like,
yeah,
okay, he's not really like validating anything I'm seeing in the film. But again, this is circumstance, and it's Chicago. We love to drink, you know.
No, but he gets to be young and stupid too.
Yeah. Which he was in the movie. Like, he literally played himself, which I think that was a hard thing to connect with. I'm like, why do I care about like some young playboy, you know? But again, something.
Here's my tip for you.
I wouldn't consider him a young playboy.
Yeah, he wasn't a playboy.
No.
He was definitely middle class. But here's my tip for you, Mike. Go find some Jews and get invited to a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, I think you have a good time.
I've 90% of my friends I grew up with were Jewish, so it wouldn't be too hard. But I guess we can go down the list here. The next one I saw, I think, is going to be a hit. As a matter of fact, it was already a hit, and I had no idea about that. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On just had an absolutely beautiful heart to it. I think it's the kind of movie where I go, man, I wish animation studios would do this more often. I wish Pixar would make this film, because every Pixar movie is, hi, my name is Mike, and I'm a little quirky, and my family doesn't really like me. And by the end of the film, my family understands me, and we have like a big cut back to, and it wasn't any of that. This was a movie about family done in a very different way. It was pseudo documentary mixed with stop motion animation, all based on a YouTube video that came out, I think, like in like maybe 10 years ago, and it got like 10 million views. So they made a film out of it, and the movie's generated from Jenny Slate and her husband, Dean Fleischer. I'll pull it up later when I actually pull up my review for it. But I loved it. It had so many existential elements to it, you know, regarding identity and gratefulness. You know, there's a line from Marcel. I don't know if it's in the movie or not, but he says, you know why I always like to smile? They go, why is that? Because it's worth it. So, yeah. What did you guys think of the movie?
Well, first of all, it's also about inclusion and diversity as well. I mean, in what kind of world does a 1-inch shell wearing shoes and Google eyes get automatic acceptance? It's like, oh yeah, it's Marcel. Yeah, it's fine. No problem here.
Total acceptance from the minute you start with him.
It's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, he's so cute, and the voice is cute, which of course helps. I mean, the voice really got the personality out. Yeah. And I think that helped. There were some of the sound. I missed some of the gag lines, which I was kind of frustrated with. Right. I don't know if it was the sound in the theater or just the sound period. But I'm going to go see it again because I want to catch all of those lines, because the audience loved it. The audience absolutely loved it, and we thought it was adorable.
Yeah, and I give a lot of credit to reaching out. I wonder what the folks at 60 Minutes said when they reached out to them and to get Leslie Stahl to play along. I mean, that was that was a big get to have 60 Minutes play along with a feature film.
Well, the thing is, Marcel was kind of a hit even before this film, and I didn't know it when I saw it. It wasn't until I saw that YouTube video, I just typed in the name of the movie and just like, bam, there's just like a million results on Marcel. And there was a show that Brian Williams used to host on NBC. It was called like The Rock or Rock Time or something like that. And he actually interviewed Marcel on that show like many, many years ago. how the character came up is pretty fascinating. If anyone remembers when Jenny Slate was on SNL, she was doing a sketch where she plays like a biker, and they're saying like freaking a lot, but she accidentally said the other word by accident, and they were negotiations basically to keep her on or off the show. And Lorne Michaels, I guess, decided to boot her off because of it. And while she was in that process, she was in a very negative mindset. Dean Fleischer Camp, I remember the name of his husband, her husband. She was in a very negative mindset, and she said, that something that I once loved is now kind of tainted, and like, how do I find something that makes me happy? And she and her husband kind of came up with the idea of this character and the voice is like based on two of her grandmothers, one of which is from a multitude of countries, but according to her words, she sounds like sort of like a baby from an Asian country. Like, she sounds like this. Oh, I'm so happy for you. And then she has another aunt who uses a lot of hairspray, and she's like, "Oh, honey, you gotta make sure you find yourself a good man." And then she just kind of combined them together into something really soft, and it's a voice that it's a voice that I think everyone just loves hearing. And there's even an audiobook available.
That's interesting.
Very nice.
Oh, and Jenny Slate is in a lot of movies lately, and I've seen her come back in more live productions.
Yeah, she's really done a great job in the indie world, sort of showing up in things left and right. So, I mean, she's proof that you don't have to like be successful just to be on SNL. Like, that's not the only ladder. I mean, if you remember, Jim Carrey was rejected, and he was on In Living Color, and his career exploded. But yeah, it's great to see that Jenny Slate embraces indie films, and this movie is sort of like an embrace of life. It's an embrace of the positive things that we have that we forget about, because we're tied up with everything else. And that's what I like about Marcel is like, although he's a kid, I think he's very wise. Like a lot of the things he says, it's like, wow, Marcel's like a little philosopher, in a way. And you could like listen to him for hours. But
and all the animation is interesting too, because that's not easy animation. That takes a lot of time to put together, and a lot of creativity. So, and they did a very good job of moving that character around.
Yeah. How does a shell age anyway?
I don't know. There was Isabel Rossellini played the grandmother, and she was sort of older, and like I think her eye was like a little droopier. So
right. And the grandmother was a great character as well. Talk about unconditional love, and acceptance, and all of that in someone who is of an more advanced age. Was nice. It was nice to see as well. So there are a lot of nice touch points in that story that she brought out.
It's a good warm fuzzy.
It is an audience pleaser, crowd pleaser. I think A24 is having one of their best years. I mean, first they come out with, I think, Everything Everywhere All at Once is their highest grossing movie. And I think this one's going to make a lot of money too, or it could not.
It's interesting. Everything Everywhere All at Once is somewhere in the $40 million or something, and that's A20. The thing about that's A24's highest grossing movie ever. And then you take a look at Marvel cast-offs that bring in hundreds of millions of dollars.
You can't compare them though.
Well, no, you can't. I'm just comparing dollars for dollars. The scale of the business is pretty interesting.
Right.
I will say, ironically, A24 is beating Disney with the multiverse. I'd say with Everything Everywhere at Once is a much better multiverse movie than Doctor Strange and the repeated plot lines from other shows, and also
Loki and all of this is the year of the
like
multiverse.
Loki a lot.
I like Loki.
Great,
I like Loki a lot, and I'm looking forward to Loki. But it's this is the year of the multiverse.
Yep, it is. And it's sort of like I think I kind of jested with everyone like the multiverse is sort of this generation's version of time travel where like everyone around the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s, would want to do that whole back to the future. Hey, what if we change this and da, 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 da. And this is sort of the version of that. I mean, there's literally a show on Disney Plus with Marvel called What If. But I
Right.
mean, and now Marcel seems like it's going to be beating Pixar's movies where it's like this is a film that says so much more and is so much more original at the same time, yet on such a smaller budget. And it's amazing how you can see these movies on a small budget and what they can pull off is far more impressive than the millions of dollars of technical wizardry that
Well,
goes into some of those movies.
Special effects.
the best thing you can do to Pixar is throw down a challenge.
Yeah.
Because Pixar and the creativity of Pixar will pick up the glove and run with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I want them to do. I want them to go, oh, we got to stop making movies about, quirky family members. Because that's like, I think I thought of 6 films that did that. But anyways, that's a whole
other discussion.
I'm very curious. Did you guys see To Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on that? Because I don't know if I'm going to be in the minority again on this one.
No, maybe not. When we first started watching it, we weren't sure we were going to hang with it. We got about halfway through and said, well, should we continue watching this or not? Because it was somewhat repetitive. And Andrea Riceborough is quite a fantastic actress. She was on the screen every single minute. And in a character that is less than engaging, as a homeless, bust out lottery winner and then lost all the money, rejects her son, abandons, becomes an alcoholic. I mean, anything. She was a depressed mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was
hard to stick with that.
It's always interesting to see how people blow $192,000. Although, not hard. There's many stories of lottery winners who have blown through millions of dollars. Not to mention all of the football players, especially football players who ended up homeless and on the street after multi-million-dollar careers as well. So, drinking away $192,000 wasn't that spectacular a feat. It's done all the time. But
I think with Mark Maron entering the equation there as someone who saw someone who needed help and tried to help them. And it was one of his best roles, I have to say. I think he did a terrific job acting in there. Mm-hmm. And he lifted that movie to a certain extent.
Yeah, he really did. And then who was his buddy who played like Rel or something? The guy who like howled like a coyote out of nowhere. And I think he's on Empire. He was a really great addition to the cast as well.
Yeah, well, Mark Maron knows a thing or two about alcohol and addiction and, and the ups and downs and how fickle life can be.
For you.
So you give him some credit also for wanting to expand his range as well. He just doesn't want to be a snarky podcast comedian anymore as well. So give him credit for wanting to try new things.
Andre Arroyo is who you're thinking of. Andre Arroyo was the wild guy who was really and would run into the desert, and he was talking about lifting it. But also seeing Allison Janney and Stephen Root as badass.
It's like Stephen Root as a biker, but it works so well because Stephen Root is kind of he's what was the name of his character in Office Space? He's Stapler guy. And seeing him in a biker outfit, you're like, okay, you see this guy looks threatening, but once you like look into his eyes, you're like, oh, he's, he looks that way, but he's actually a good person. And you can just kind of get that by looking at Stephen Root.
He's such a great character actor. I mean, he can do it. And Allison Janney is a real tough broad. Boy, she was something.
Well, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, and fool me again and again and again. She had it with Leslie, and she didn't want to get stomped on again.
Yep.
emotionally.
I say it's a tough movie for the first half of it. If you stick with it, there are some redeeming qualities in more ways than one.
Yeah, I feel sort of mixed about it. It's like it feels sort of repetitive. Like we get that she's a drunk, we get that she ruined her life,
Right.
but she just keeps doing it, and I understand that's the intention of the film, and I actually kind of respect that. But then when it gets to the whole sort of redemptive arc, it felt like that character in no way, shape, or form really earned it or tried to find an attempt to earn it. And I think it has sort of like a closure ending where I sort of wanted something more open ended because I feel like after that, after she closes the oh wait, I can't give away the spoilers,
No.
but I feel like she's just gonna screw up again in the end.
Well, it just seemed to me that there were some scenes missing to get to that point.
Yeah, it just like cuts to a few months later, and we're like, what, how already? And then even before that, I'm wondering. I loved Mark Maron's character. I loved his acting. I love sort of that sort of rough and sort of laugh that he adds to his characters. It's sort of the laugh of a man who's been through a lot, but is tired of fighting and just goes with the flow. Like if the guy in the room across from me takes his clothes off and howls like a coyote, go ahead. You sort of got that in him because he is a person who went through a tremendous amount of pain. I don't know if you listen to his podcasts at all, but he did an episode like right after his partner died.
Lynn Shelton. We actually interviewed him with Lynn Shelton in Texas.
Oh my goodness.
When they were doing Sword of Trust.
Yes. Yeah, Mark Maron's a very indie guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was fun to talk to.
Oh, yeah, I've always wanted to talk to him. I feel like I'd have a lot to relate to him just being in the comedy world and knowing.
Right, and Lynn Shelton was quite an astounding.
Well, she was on her way to having quite a career.
She was really quite talented, and I was glad that we had the opportunity to meet her.
Yeah, absolute tragedy. Speaking of which, Ray Liotta, did you guys hear he passed away today?
No.
Oh, no.
You didn't know that?
No, I did not know this.
Oh, I'm so sorry I had to break it to you.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Another great.
I know. I mean, he has my favorite quote. As someone who does freelance, I always love the quote from Goodfellas, F you, pay me.
Wow. What happened?
I don't know. I just know that he was in his I think he was somewhere out of the country, sort of like a very tropical setting, and he died in his sleep. So it sounds like he went peacefully, and that's good. Which good. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. I have to look that up.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm like I don't know what to post about him other than like a Goodfellas meme or something. But I mean, circling back to Leslie, I mean, this movie, if you think about it, it is a little bit it is about loss and it's about coming back. I feel like you said, if they put in a few more scenes establishing why, for instance, Mark Maron loves Leslie or falls for her, because he sort of like lets her do everything while she takes money from him to go drinking. But for some reason, he has feelings for her. But I don't know if it's just because he's desperate and he doesn't like see anyone or what it is.
Yeah.
But that didn't seem to quite like blend with me with the movie.
No, there is some good writing in there in some of the scenes, but it is very uneven.
Yeah, it's a little uneven. But again, Andrea Riseborough is. I have to say, like she really did carry that movie because she had to carry that movie,
right?
But anyways, I'll skip down to the okay. Here's the one that has everyone talking. Can you guess which one it is?
I Love You, Dad.
Well, that's that one.
No, good luck to you, Leo Grande.
No, the other one, the real screwed up one.
Oh, the screwed up. Oh,
yeah. Resurrection.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Now that was a movie where, it's a film where you walk out and you don't just forget the movie. You turn to someone and you go, "What the hell was that?" or "What did that mean?" And
And there is no answer.
Yeah, there is no answer because it's open ended. That's the fun of open interpretation. You become the storyteller.
Yes.
You make the tale. Whatever it means to you is what matters. That's like if David Lynch went out there and said, "Here's everything I know about Eraserhead, and here's what you got wrong." Like it would ruin the meaning of the film. So this is a film where to break down the plot a little bit, a woman Mary, this is a woman who is, I think, divorced. She's been through some kind of trauma, and the person she left keeps traumatizing her, but we don't know if he's telling the truth to her, which we cannot reveal what that is because that would ruin the whole movie, or if it's all in her head. And it's sort of like at the end of the Joker, we're going, was that in the character's head? Was it not? I think part of it was in her head and part of it wasn't.
Well,
particularly the ending. Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely disturbed. Something has happened in her past that she's taking out on her daughter as well as herself. She can't find a comfortable room for herself or a comfortable place. And all of a sudden this guy comes into her life and just brings back every negative memory that she has. And she kind of flips out. Now, I will say that her performance is amazing because she is quite an actress. And there is a 7-minute monologue that she does that is incredible just for doing that piece. And she did it in one take. And the director said, okay, we've got it. And she said, you know what? I want to make sure that we got it. She did it again in one take, 7 minutes.
Wow, that's incredible. Rebecca has been Rebecca Hall has been killing it recently. I mean, she did Passing. She directed that movie, which I thought was phenomenally made, overlooked by the Academy, but what are you gonna do? And yeah, the performance she gives in this movie is great. What was the other one she did? Was it called Christine, or the one where she played the news reporter who offed herself that inspired Network?
Oh
God, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might have been called Christine, but she was phenomenal in that film way back. And it was about a news reporter. Her last name was Chobak, but she basically killed herself on the air because she was going through a mental breakdown. And this is a similar kind of character.
Right. Well, you see this script is about her slowly unraveling.
Right.
As she descends into either madness or into the clarity of what she has to do to save herself.
Yeah.
We'll figure, you figure that out as the movie goes along. But it is a slow descent.
It is, and I liked sort of the slow style of it. I like movies that allow itself to breathe and you just sort of sink in the atmosphere.
Tim Roth is
amazing.
What a chilling performance, right?
Creepy.
Every time he appears on the screen, your skin crawls.
Yeah, he's great.
Imagine what it does to this woman who actually suffered at his hands.
Exactly, or his brain. Either way, we don't know.
He's such a versatile actor, There's one movie he's in that I absolutely love. It's called, I think I saw it once, but like this is way back. Like this is like it's so embarrassing when like Blockbuster Video was around and I was like working there. It was called 1900, I think, and he was like this guy who was a pianist that lived on a boat. And he like never moved from that boat, and it's like one of his best performances, and it's totally worth checking out. The cast in this is absolutely stellar. I love the reaction of the sort of, I guess, the intern or whoever it was in the office when Rebecca Hall's done giving her monologue that basically explains why she's going crazy.
Yeah.
And they cut back to the reaction of the girl who was just trying to be nice, be like, "Hey, if you need a ear, I'm here to listen," like people casually say to you, right? Because people say, "Hey, if you ever need someone to talk to," and you're like, "Do you really want me to talk to you? Do you really want to know what's going on?" So she just tells her everything, and her reaction is just pure shock. She's crying. She doesn't know what to say. She's just like, feel better. And she just walks away. It was just so natural.
But she was also trying to impart to this young girl some advice in the process.
Oh, yeah. Which was don't be with a bad. Oh, yeah. She did tell her in the beginning, like, don't be with an abusive person. And
exactly. She was trying to do that. Andrew Siemens is the director, and he did leave it very open-ended at the end.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is that the scars, not the nice thing, it's an odd way to say it, but the scars that psychological trauma puts on you is far more severe than what physical trauma might do.
Absolutely.
And that's what really resonated with me. It's like, wow, like even I'm kind of like messed up after that movie. And I'm like, I have to see it again. You have to see it again to kind of understand it, but you don't want to, but you kind of have to. And it like leaves you torn like that character. And the more I thought about that movie, the more like, no, that wasn't tacky. That was brilliant. Like that was a really good.
Of course, the question I have at the end of that movie: who's going to pay for the damage to the hotel room?
Was there damage though?
Was there? Oh yeah, there was damage in the hotel room. there was. Now, whether or not there was a victim or two, who knows? But yeah, there was damage in the hotel room.
We don't know.
Yeah, this movie's psychological horror done right. You know, this is where like the psychology of it really screws with your head. And once it gets to the blood and guts stuff, you're like, I don't need that. But there's not a lot of that movie. So, you know, but
just seeing the fear in her face, the eyes, the close-ups, was enough.
Forcing her to walk barefoot across like the street to like her abuser, like, oh wait, I can't give stuff away. Anyways, I need to do a spoiler review later on this film. I think this is a movie that I would love to revisit and talk about some other time because I could do like a whole hour on it. But we'll move on to the last one here that I saw, and I think we saw, or I should say everyone saw, I Love My Dad. A very sweet, touching title to a very perverse movie that is actually real and actually is sweet and touching, but odd. Would you guys like to break down the plot of this one?
So this is based, again, as you say, on real facts. James Morosini is the star and director and writer of this screed. And he plays a young man who's estranged from his father, who's divorced from his mother. He has his own psychological problems that have brought him close to his own demise. But his father is he's a cad. His father loves his son with a true love, but he can't find a way to actually give of himself to the relationship. He's absent. The word is absent. He's just never there for his kid. And so his son, for his own mental health, cuts him off from social media, cuts him off from phone calls, cuts him off from emails. And Patton Oswalt, who plays the father, is beside himself. And to get back into his kid's life, he creates a fake Facebook account of a very beautiful young woman and catfishes his son online.
And the woman is real, but not in the wheelhouse of either of them.
Yeah, it's just a pic of a girl who works in a diner.
And that the dad frequents.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he just uploaded it and pretended. And this is all real, folks. Not a fake story, which is what made it work so well. Like, although the humor is twisted, it's not meant to be. It's actually meant to be sweet. And that's what worked with it. Because although it says, I love you, dad, it's more like, I love you, son. And then the son learns how to love the dad in a very odd way. Especially that ending shot where it's sort of like a callback to The Shining with Jack Nicholson looking out the window, you know?
Right. But there is, again, that open-ended, and just, I won't give away what the facial expression is at the end, gives you hope. There's hope. But
there are so many times in that movie when you just want to say, don't do it. Don't Please don't do that. Don't send that text. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Well, and it is a very sweet love story that's unfolding online. Unfolding online. It just so happens that the other end of the sweet love story is the guy's father.
That's sort of the catch. And if you told the studio this movie, they probably would have greenlit it, like anyways, because they'd be like, "That's a great comedy." But the fact that this really happened to the guy is absolutely amazing. If I were to pull up his name, because I am notoriously terrible with names and I don't even try to hide it anymore. James Morrison. He does them. Morrissini. Yeah.
And his father was actually, that's what it was based on. James.
Yeah, because I was going to say his performance is actually, I mean, of course he's playing himself, but even if you play yourself, you have to have like the audience really like you. And I really liked him because this is a person you could tell has been through a lot of pain, is just trying to learn how to get through life. And you could just see it like in his face, in his eyes, like, yeah, this is my life. I'm really putting myself forward. And I got to give Morrissini like all the credit in the world to tell such a personal, weird story and just be like, hey, if people judge me, whatever, love me for who I am, and that's great. I would like that. Patton Oswalt, by the way, really funny, great performer. He was a good pick for this role. I
was going to ask you, who else could you see playing that role?
Like, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, who's someone who could be like quirky, but like they're not like trying to be, and they're like funny and likable, but they're not trying to be. And it's tough. Maybe just because he's his friend, Brian Posehn, although he would look a little weird in that role. I could think of a lot of comedians who could probably play that role. But Oswald has sort of established himself as sort of like this weird, nerdy guy. And just like his persona sort of worked in that sort of role where he's nerdy and like somehow he got lucky.
And who else could have? It just came to who else could have played that role? Mark Maron.
Yeah, he could have. He would have been again. Like comedians are great at that. Here's the funny thing. Here's a myth I like to break down. Comedians, people say, are when they're doing a dramatic role, they're like, oh, they're doing drama. It's like doing drama is natural for them because they come from a lot of pain. It's not an easy job to do, and they can project that to the audience and on the screen. So whenever someone is considered to be a comedic actor and they do a serious role, I always go, well, that's a label. Don't call someone a comedic actor, call them an actor, because they all can do the same thing.
And they can't all do it.
Not all, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we were just watching the first episode on HBO Max of Judd Apatow's 3-part series about George Carlin. Which is a terrific piece so far. But George Carlin admitted, and it was true, when he tried to get into acting, he couldn't do it.
No, it wasn't his thing. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, some can, some can't. It's sort of like when someone sees Jim Carrey and they're like, he can't act, he could just be silly. It's like, no,
not true.
He can tone that down. Watch Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and you'll, which, of course, that was a big movie when I was growing up. But yeah, this movie is creepy and like loving and
funny,
sort of funny and heartfelt, and like none of the jokes feel forced. It's like you feel like, oh no, this is literally what someone would say in this situation. This is what someone would do. This is the mistake someone would make. Like everything just seems believable and it clicks.
We also ought to call out the mother in this, Landecker.
Yeah, Amy Landecker.
Amy Landecker, local Chicago. Comes from Chicago radio royalty, as a matter of fact. Her father is John Records Landecker. She plays the mother in this, and she also puts in a pretty honest performance as well. I enjoyed she wasn't on camera a lot, but I enjoyed her time on the screen.
Yeah, but she had some really important scenes that kind of pulled it all together. What was interesting too is we saw it without an audience first, and this was the second time that we saw it with an audience, and the laughs were extraordinary. I mean, the audience, it resonated with the audience,
the visible
for sure.
and the discomfort.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And we
The
won't give away
moaning.
why it's uncomfortable, but you can
You will be
imagine.
saying, please don't do that.
Oh my
Don't
god. Oh
do
yeah. No, I love Patton's joke like in the Q&A afterwards. He's like, "That's how I got the role."
What's interesting is that James Morosini actually played it for his father, played the film for his father.
Oh, that's right.
And it has brought them closer together.
Oh, the good. Yeah, because you'd have to imagine it. Well, I'm guessing the dad at that point, because he knows what happened, and it was so weird in the first place. He's like, well, you know what? Like, you should make it a movie. And his son, and he's doing whatever he can to love his son. So yeah, I wish his dad was there so bad, but that's okay. It would have been cool if he screen timed him, but I don't know where his dad was. But I guess Morosini's relationship with his father is much improved thanks to trauma. Yay!
Well, and Claudia Sulewski, who plays the girlfriend or the sort of girlfriend, she does a great job too of being very convincing, and there's some real raw scenes in there.
She actually has the toughest role in this whole movie, is because she has to play herself and then play the girlfriend in the relationship as well, who's falling in love, and then the realization of what's going on. And she has a multi-layered job to do, and pulls it off. Good for her.
Well, it's really an ensemble piece where everything works together, especially towards the the climax of the film. It's not the climax you expect.
No,
and they don't pull the carpet from underneath your feet just for the sake of it. There's something very real in it, because you're like, is this going to end horribly? Is this going to end well? Well, you'll see. But the funny thing is this year, but yeah, this movie I liked a lot. If I were to wrap up this film festival in general, from what I saw, there's some solid lineups. There's one movie I guess we didn't get to see that I could mention. But I'd like to know, what movies did you guys see that I didn't get to witness that you would recommend?
Well, we saw Emma Thompson in Good Luck to You, Leo Grande.
Oh yes,
another uncomfortable kind of role.
Oh my goodness!
I saw the thumbnail and I read the description. And it's like, Emma Thompson finds her sex life, and I'm like, Emma Thompson's beautiful, but it's kind of like a little past my age range. I don't know if I want to watch that for 2 hours.
I think it's a very interesting movie, and you should. But,
I do. Yeah. I will watch it
because she,
after dark. No, and again,
because she plays a woman who has her husband died several years before, and she has never had sexual satisfaction, and she hires a sex worker to help her find it. There's a lot of discussion about everything, and a really good person to play off of who helps her find what she's looking for, but mentally as well as physically. And she bears all. I mean, she is very out there.
She dispenses with vanity.
Completely. You'll never look at yourself in the mirror the same way after seeing her do the same.
Yeah, I think we kind of obsess. I kind of like Europe's approach, or France's approach to the human body, where it's more natural instead of like America, where it's like, oh my god, I see someone naked. Ew.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. You're making a point. I think Al was making a point, and I caught.
Oh no, the young man, the sex worker.
I'm gonna find his name.
Yeah, who was? We last saw him in Pixie. He was one of the trio of
Dylan McCormick.
Dylan McCormick gives a very a nicely balanced performance as well, and also when we find his backstory, his backstory also becomes a nice part of this movie as well. So won't give any more away from that, but again, Emma Thompson getting sexual gratification, always a good day at the movies.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, good for her for loving her body. I'm all for that. And also, it reminds me of a movie. Do you remember The Sessions, where Helen Hunt played a sex worker and John Hawkes was
right?
He had some sort of, I don't know what it was. It might
He
have been
was,
ALS.
yeah.
I don't know.
He was paralyzed. He had he couldn't move.
Yeah, and she sort of showed him, sexual pleasure, although he couldn't feel anything down there, I think. But it's I would like to see more movies that are sexually positive, that are fun about sex and happy about it, instead of treating it like it's taboo, like the United States usually does. That sounds like a kind of movie that I'd like to see. It's like Short Bus, like that was a real positive one that is very infamous, but I actually really digged when I saw it. Are there any suggestions?
Well, there's one other film, Straighten Up and Fly Right.
What's that about?
So this movie is, again, based on reality as well. It takes place in New York. Kirsten Abel, right?
Abate.
Kirsten Abate. Kristen Abate plays this young woman who suffers from a debilitating kind of arthritic disease, which causes her to be painfully hunched over. She can't straighten up. She's constantly over with her arms askew,
and her
it's
legs
very
crossed kind of as she walks.
Very painful. And she works as a dog walker in New York, but she cannot, if she drops her keys, for instance, she has to ask for someone for help to pick them up. She can't bend over. She can't
Everyone
move.
should see this film.
She has a friendship with or develops a friendship with another person, Stephen Tenenbaum is his name, who also suffers from, he's older than her, but suffers from the same kind of
disease. It's a condition.
Same sort of condition, and they strike up this friendship. She is caustic and satirical and funny,
and gets high a lot, and takes a lot of painkillers because of her condition.
And so does he. And they have this friendship in real life.
Yeah.
And so there's this movie that develops this friendship and her road to coming to love herself, coming to accept herself, and emerge as a fully functioning personality.
But Stephen Tannenbaum, who is in this, he's in the art community in New York and has written a lot of plays. And she was a student. She is not disabled at all. She is a full-fledged actress doing a lot of things, and she plays this woman who is completely debilitated and ugly, really, and down on her luck. And there are some really interesting ways that they portray this, and some scenes that are really interesting. When she first is going to walk Steve Tannenbaum's dog, she goes to his apartment, and they do a mirror image of the two of them both bent over, like, so you can see what they have to deal with. And she thinks he's making fun of her.
Oh, okay.
It's the real deal, that he really is got the same thing she does. And there's a lot of interesting scenes about how they end up, being very wary of each other and then becoming friends. And how he helps her develop her artistic abilities.
It's a little movie that not many people will probably see, but should.
What's the name of it? Because when this video's up, I want everyone to see the names of the films in the description so they can all Google them.
Straighten Up and Fly Right.
Which is the name of a Nat. Right, that's the name of a Nat King Cole song, and the movie opens up on somebody tap dancing, which is I love tap dancing.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's. I think for the one, I can suggest that the extra one that I saw that was very good. I even spoke to the director about it. It's called Hold Your Fire, and it's a movie about the longest standoff that happened in New York City history, and miraculously, only one person got killed. But it could have been a far worse situation. But the reason that whole situation didn't turn out to be as destructive as it could have been was because of the teachings of a particular psychologist named Harvey Schlossberg, who came up with these hostage negotiation tactics that most of Europe has used, which has saved like 40,000 lives or something like that. I could be inflating the number, I'm not sure. And yeah, this whole incident happened because there was these 4 African American men who go into a convenience store, I think to like rob it, and then a bunch of cops come in, and they're yelling just horribly racist things over the radio, and they're basically out there to kill them. And thanks to this guy and this situation, this standoff that lasted, I think, for about like 48 hours, like wound up with 1 death, which was possibly the result of a officer firing at the suspects and hitting one of his own officers by incident, but they won't know. And what a timely film to come out at the same time. I mean, my God. But when I spoke to the director, it was a little embarrassing. I was the last guy that day, and the lights are going down, and he was like, oh, like yawning in between. So I'm like, oh, maybe he wants to wrap up. So like I said, like, oh, thank you for your time after interviewing for like 13 minutes. He kind of looks like, huh? And I'm like, oh, you're yawning. Did you want to still go? But I didn't say that, but I mentioned it later. But he was an amazing guy. Stephen Forbes. I actually have a little soundbite from him on my TikTok page where he talks about toxic masculinity and how it affects us as a culture and causes us to be very combative instead of empathetic. And the police force, they suffer through a lot of trauma too, but they don't get any consultation other than alcoholism. So it's an incredible timely piece to see. It's called Hold Your Fire. I think it might still be playing in the Gene Siskel Center now. I'm not sure, but it should, if you just Google it, it should be playing in like little indie theaters, and hopefully it'll show up on more screens because it is phenomenally paced, phenomenally edited, and you really do get the perspective from both parties, but it's very honest. Like when they show the cops, there's like a clip where one of the cops says, I don't know a single racist cop. Or like he says, I'm sorry, I should requote myself. He says, I know for a fact that cops aren't racist. When moments before he says that, they said N-word with guns, like in convenience store. And there's like one of his buddies saying that. And, but then you also see the guys who were involved in that incident, and they're not what you would think. They're not just like a bunch of sleazy robbers. They were just confused kids who got like 35-year sentences. And
it happens all the time.
Yeah, like one was like a guy who kind of realized in the moment he needed to defend himself, but he kind of like learned how he was lost, stuff like that. But he wasn't really aiming to hurt anyone. And then there was another guy who was just really quiet, who who just got recently released from jail, and just like plays music and is just like this soft-spoken, sweet guy. And you're like, man, that's just so. I was just thinking, man, if these were white guys, I wonder if they would have gotten out of jail earlier. But so much to think about with that movie, and just so many good films. Like, man, the lineup this year was like one of my favorites in a long time, honestly.
Well, and I also want to tell you that we did interview Cooper Raiff for Cha-Cha Real Smooth, and that'll be up soon. And also CC Cleary, for To Leslie. And we also interviewed Stephen Tannenbaum and Kristen Abate and one of the other actors in the movie, AJ, for the Straighten Up and Fly Right. And that was a fascinating topic because they said what had inspired them to do the film. And I'm not going to say what it is. You got to tune into our interview to find out.
Oh, please give me a link to that to put in the episode later.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So links to anything. That's what I do. So that I don't have to ask later. But yeah, but guys, if you guys want to, sorry, brain fart. Closing out, what did you guys think of the overall festival?
I think they did a nice job. There were documentaries and shorts that were worth seeing. Navalny, of course, the documentary should be seen by everyone. We'll let you know what the story is in Russia. This is Navalny, who he was the man who was poisoned in his underpants by Putin.
And the documentary is quite powerful and absolutely current. And he is now in jail, and his sentence has just in Russia because he went back. He's a dissident who was trying to oust Putin, and he was put in jail for 9 years, and it's just been extended another 9 years.
So hopefully Putin won't last that long.
Yeah.
So
see what happens. But I think that they picked some really excellent films, some of which we saw at South by and Sundance, and they were presented in really good fashion, and tried to get the directors there so you could really find out about how they were made and why they were made.
Yeah. So, and one tip for anybody who goes to the Music Box Theater, wonderful theater, beautiful theater. Pick a seat where the speakers give you acceptable sound.
Yes.
Left side.
The sound is the weakest part of the experience of going to the Music Box.
Yes, I love it. It's my one of my favorite theaters, like literally in the world. But the acoustics from the speakers, they either need to update because they're kind of bouncing off the walls from the venue all over. So the vocals that come, I think, from primarily the left speaker, from what I can tell, is just kind of doing all the work, and it was kind of bouncing through there. There were some classic films they did show, but like they showed Boogie Nights in 35 millimeter, which that was like watching it for the first time. Like I've seen it a million times in my life, and I'm like, I never knew this film looked so vibrant and colorful and amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. But this movie is this festival is a celebration of movies, a celebration of art. It's a smaller event in a venue that still seats like, I don't know, like 300 people or something like that. Probably more. I'm way off. It's way more. I don't know. But it's somewhere that's intimate. You can talk to the filmmakers. You can hang out with them. You know, they're not on a red carpet where there's like a million cameras. They're like, okay, go here now. It's just something that's real chill, and you could tell the filmmakers had a great time because I think like about 3 of them were just like wasted when I was talking to them. But I mean, to be honest, I had a couple of White Claws too, so then we were like on like vibing the same way.
It's a film lovers festival where you can really feel that you're with people who are just as excited about it as you are, and you can get a lot of information, and it was just really easy and enjoyable.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and that's kind of the main thing, and it's accessible. And I can't wait to see what they have next year. The lineup was incredibly diverse this year. Before we close out, what would you guys like to plug before anything?
Moviesandshakers.com. YouTube, Movies and Shakers on YouTube. So,
and we're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We're also Rotten Tomatoes.
Right. I also sell coffee on the side on the corner. So there you go.
Guys, go to moviesandshakers.com. Linda Lerner, amazing festival. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great to hang out with you guys and see people in person again.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Really my gosh.
Really a treat, Mike.
Well, much good luck to you, Mike. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much for letting us talk about it.
Thank you. All right. I'm off to work. Bye-bye.
Bye.